Now, this is where a lot of people want to leave right here, because just because you are anointed, that does not mean you are exempt from the realities of life. Just because you are anointed, that does not mean that you will not have a burden to carry. I'm going to preach to somebody today. Look at the text. Let me go. It's not all clear in Numbers. It's not all clear as to where these individuals were located. But the location of them, it does not matter. All that matter is, in this part of Numbers, is that the house of God is in order. Help me, somebody. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, the house of God has to be in order. I'm going to help somebody today. It was important that the children of God establish the house of God. Why? Because the tabernacle represented the presence of God. And the tabernacle had to be in order for the presence of God to dwell in the tabernacle. The reason why the tabernacle had to be in order simply was because the Bible teaches us that God will not dwell. Are y'all ready to go? He'll not dwell in an unclean place. Let me give you some background. Numbers chapter 7, verse 1 through 8. We take a glimpse at the setup and the dedication of the tabernacle. Previously in chapter 3, God placed an anointing on the family groups of the tribe of Levi. He placed an anointing on them. He gave all of them a specific task. Therefore, each one of them had a specific job in which they had to do in order to have the tabernacle set up the way that it should have been set up. Let me say that again. You got to get that. Every one of the family members of the tribe of Levi had a job to do. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you got a job to do. And it was mandatory that each person stayed within their God-given assignments and not assume other responsibilities. Look at somebody else and say, you got a job to do. Y'all ain't helping me today. Y'all ready to go home. Tell somebody, you got a job to do. And stop trying to do other folks' jobs. Help me somebody. Because doing other folks' job and not focusing on your job will cause the house to be out of order. I'm preaching in the text today. It will cause the whole house to be out of order, which means if the house is out of order, the presence of God will not dwell there. Preacher. And I believe that's the problem in a lot of our local churches. God is giving us responsibilities, and he has ordained and he has anointed us to do specific jobs in the household of faith, but simply because he wants the tabernacle to be in order. You wonder why a lot of folk come to church and they leave, and a lot of folk that are not members of churches come to church and never join. It's because when they get inside the tabernacle, they realize that the house is not in order. Look at somebody and say, it's hard, but it's fair. God, being a God of order and not disorder, could not reside in a house that was disorganized. Verse number 3 of chapter 7. Look at what's happened here. It says, and they brought their offerings. Moses had already set up the house. He had already set up the house, and he had anointed and sanctified it. And he put all of the instruments in place. And after he did this, the Bible says the priests of Israel, they brought their offerings before the Lord. It's right there in the text. 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen